Okay, so to get this out of the way beforehand, Divas is indeed a complete newbie. I do not give shoutouts, and this is Phreak from WCR giving you one of the longest audio commentaries you guys will probably ever hear, and hopefully it'll be pretty good. So we're going to load up Game 1 of DD8 versus Caravaggio. This is on Nullwood, and I'm going to be analyzing pretty much a best-of-3 series on a Human vs. Night Elf. And I know there's been a lot of Night Elf commentaries, like all of my audio seem to involve Night Elf, but you guys did want to see some Human, and I'm really not the best undead player. I played them for a short time, but, you know, I'm new to Mass Fiends against Orc, and Go Ghouls for everything else, pretty much, you know, and then Go Gargs against Night Elf, but I never really knew a whole lot about undead in general. So get this to 1 minute from an Elf's point of view if you want, because we're going to go for both sides. You can pick a player to look for food and whatnot, but get this 1 minute mark, 1x speed, Fog of War off, whoever's point of view you want, doesn't really matter. And we're going to get this underway pretty soon. So, as I said, Human vs. Night Elf, I'm not a good undead player, so we're probably not going to see a whole lot of that. Lido, I think, can take care of undead pretty well. He's a very competent undead player. He's also been playing Night Elf, as you can pretty much see, so we've got plenty of Night Elf commentaries recently. I'm unsure as to what Mystic plays, but I can hold you over with Orc and Human, I think. We all know Cygnus and Cecil when he makes audios for WCR, and Lido are very competent Night Elf commentators, and I'm not sure what Mystic's going to bring for you, but that should be good. It's good to see him return. And we're just going to get all that crap out of the way. We're going to go ahead and unpause this commentary, get this started already, and let's check this out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, unpause. So, Nullwood, first thing to think about that map is you can't merc anymore, so Human can tower rush Night Elf Techers, since you can no longer bring in 2 Troll Berserkers by the first Nightfall, and 2 Troll Priests before your hero comes out. You're not going to be able to survive any sort of tower rush situation anymore in this map. It's going to be pretty much impossible, assuming the Human gets in these positions. If it's, say, bottom left versus top right, that'll be pretty hard because you have to navigate through like the middle and all that crap, and also that hyper-aggressive camp just above the, just up and right of the fountain over there. That'll pretty much rape peasants, so if you got positions like that, you're pretty much screwed. But otherwise, Human's going to have a pretty easy time killing a Night Elf Techer if they see that it's coming. If they see that it's coming, there we go. So the first thing Human does is, as you can see, he checks his closest neighbors, sees that he's not to the left of him, and now he's checking to the right, and he's going to see where his opponent is, and he's going to see that he's getting a barracks already, or Ancient No War, whatever, and that he's got a DH and whatnot. And the typical Human hero of the Archmage has been chosen. Now, one of the interesting things about this matchup you're going to see actually throughout this series, this commentary, is that there's a lot more choices that Night Elf has than Human. Like, Human, I think, has to respond to Night Elf, and Night Elf just has a set combination that Human tries to counter. Because we all know Human, their one strat, maybe it's their only strat that they can do, or the one that they like, I'm not sure. I'm not going to really spectate on whether it's the only thing they have or it's the only thing they like to do. But Rifle Caster is, their main thing. And so, keeping that in mind, Night Elf has essentially come up with a counter to Rifle Caster, in that they start out with Hunts, because, they beat Footmen and level 1 Water Metals pretty easily, and can keep the Human from creeping, getting high-level Brilliance and that high-level Mountain King, which is really the only reason they get Hunts in this matchup anymore, is really to delay creeping and to not be able to get rushed. And the reason they start with Archers is so they can't get tower rushed. As you can see, he's actually keeping it home, just in case he does get towered, because with the new Defend, it is possible to just, pimp slap the Archers. And, just win that fight. So he's just keeping it home, because they'll probably die harassing, getting rally eject and whatnot, as all the natural expansion creeps are really super aggressive. But anyway, keeping Archers at home to defend against any rush, against any sort of Wisp harassment, and also because, prevents you from getting towered, and then you don't have to build a Hunter's Hall, so you can tech really fast, because what Night Elf relies on is getting bears and Dryads. Dryads just own the heck out of, what are they called? Oh my gosh. Dryads own Water Metals extremely hard, just because Water Metals are abolished extremely easily. And now you can see the lag plays into effect in this matchup, and that the DH is about to get owned. Luckily doesn't, but you saw the Footman get killed and whatnot, so there was lag in this matchup, so most players know that, they're both lagging there's going to be a lot of ping in between them, and that micro's not going to be as big of a deal as really tactics and being able to out creep and that kind of stuff, auto cast spells, that kind of stuff, or even effect spells as well. Because if it takes you 2 seconds to react to a blizzard, you've already taken 3 waves of it, pretty much. Because you add in human reaction time plus them not even getting out of the way in time, all that stuff. You can get 3 waves of blizzard in pretty easily. You're not going to be able to teleport out of a shadow strike. Like you see the warden swinging her hands, you're going to teleport right as it is in the air so that you don't take any damage, but she wastes the mana. And that kind of thing isn't going to happen in this game. So they're going to be relying on strength of tactics and choices above crazy ghosty micro. So anyway, the reason for the Night Elf units, I already kind of went over the archers. I'm going to try not to go over that too much more, except that they do a lot of damage. So even if you are, into your bears already, archers are still good damage units. But anyway, the Demon Hunter choice is, one, he's a good harassing hero, which as you can see, he's not like Huntresses, so he's going to be harassing with only his hero, or he's going to be creeping with his hero and archers. As you can see in this one, he was harassing with his DH, and it's a really competent choice because he does do a lot of damage, and mana burn is extremely strong, and he's quick, which is one of the main things that he can get away. But anyway, so he's just taking rampantly towards bears. As you can see, he's already at tier 2, pretty much at pace with the human player, but it could have been slower if he went hunts. As you can see, he's already got the Hunter Saw, and he's getting the Ancient Allure, and he's going to be making more wisps, realizing that he really needs some more wood in general. Also, just attack, but wood in general, when you're getting bears and whatnot, it costs a lot more than archers do. So, great, I got all tapped. Gosu. Alright, I'm going to speed this replay up a little bit. I'm at 602, 603, 604. So what they're doing in the creep fight at the creeps, as you can see, defend is Gosu. You notice it's very hard for this Night Elf player to micro his units out at all. He hides like way late just because of all the delay. So you can see that using melee against ranged is pretty easy for the melee force in this kind of battle because the ranged player just simply can't get away. So that's a lot of the reason why he kept his archers at home as well, is just because he's not going to be able to micro them away, just because it's going to be impossible. So you're going to see, heroes are harassing stuff. As you can see, the human army can't just stand up to the heroes because, Night Elf has quicker healing than a human does. Until they have priests, they have to rely on scrolls of regen. And since those take time and stuff, really, human's just going to worry about making sure his units don't get owned. And, once he's killed enough of the Night Elf army, he's just going to go away and, let it be. He realizes he's probably not going to kill anything because the DH is fast, and Panda has armor and whatnot. So, just knowing when you're not going to get anything else, like pretty much when you know that you're not going to be able to kill anything else, just, exercise the better part of valor, just run away because you're not going to get anything out of it anymore. For instance, if you have 2 rifles against the DH, sure, you can deal damage to the DH, probably micro your rifleman out, but who cares? The DH isn't going to die, and you can heal up his DH in about 2 seconds. It'll take, a minute and a half for your rifles, so just don't do anything. In any event, you can see that he's getting Huntresses now because it's a bit of a bridge in between archers and bears, because right now he's not going to be able to win any more fights with archers. He knows he's not going to be able to win any more fights with archers because you saw just how much defend owned him and how much, how he's going to get, how he's got that Naga in there for fork and slowing, meaning you're really not going to be able to save your archers at all, period. So he's here to get the Panda as a bit of anti-rifle measure and anti-footy measure, just so that they don't do as much damage, but you can't just rely on 2 heroes to be the counter system for defended footmen against archers. You're still going to get cut up by defend, so rather than saying, oh, my heroes will take care of it, have the guts to, change up to Huntresses, because it's really not going to work that well, because they can just bolt surround your heroes and they'll go down. Or you'll TP, either way, you lose. So he's getting Huntresses to bridge the gap in between footmen owning his archers and rifles owning Huntresses, just getting a few of them enough to be able to creep effectively until he really gets those bears. So you can see he's got the adept trending, and he's getting the claws already. He's unfortunately 1 food out from getting another bear, but whatever. Anyway, back to what Human's doing. He's just power creeping because he knows eventually his opponent's going to come in with a bunch of bears, and it's going to be extremely hard to beat. So now that he's got, for now he's got water lentils. He knows his opponent's going to get dries eventually, and this will just abolish the water lentils away. So he's going to capitalize them as much as he can when he can, because he knows his opponent will not fight him. until he gets bears. The Night Elf simply won't go for it. Seeing as the guy already went archers, he won't have enough hunts to try to stage any battle, so the human player knows for sure that the Night Elf player is not going to combat him. If you see an archer opening, you're pretty much safe in that you're not going to get hit very much. Just because, the slowing of the Naga plus rifle focus fire and priest healing means you'll win any sort of harassment battle. So he just sends one of the illusion out, trying to see what his opponent has. Sees there's not a big army. He's really just holding out for bears. As you can see, the Night Elf has not fronted a big army at all. He's just holding out for bears, as I just said. And as soon as that master training comes, then he'll have this, big jolly army. But for now, he doesn't have that. So you can see he's just healing up the fountain. And the human player knows that his opponent's, that the Night Elf player is trying to get himself to tier 3, and try to not fight in between then. So he's going to try to force a fight before he gets bears. Unfortunately, that training is coming in about 15 seconds for the Night Elf player. So human timed it a little late, but whatever. That's what scouting can do for you. He could have pretty much towered and won the game about a minute ago if he wanted to. He could have simply bought a bunch of ivory towers, gotten one of the masonry upgrades, and started putting up guard towers, and he probably would have won right there. I almost guarantee it. Just because he was far enough away from bears that nothing would have happened for him. But anyway, he focuses the altar just in case he wasn't actually getting tier 3. Also, it's in case he gets a hero, It's pretty nice to get rid of. But as you can see, poof, he's here with his Abolish Ghostiness and Breath of Fire, Rape, and the bears. So what the human player is going to do is he's going to try to do as much damage as he can. If he can knock out a kill, knowing that his opponent does not have altar or tier, does not have an altar or TP, he knows if he can score a hero kill, it's going to stick for a while. If he can snag some Hunter's kills, that's going to stick too, because, the guy's switching up to bears, so pretty much forcing him to rely on just bears now is pretty nice. Like, the reasoning behind that is because hunts own spellbreakers, but spellbreakers can stand up to bears. So if you get rid of the hunts, then you know that your spellbreakers are going to be the only melee versus melee matchup, and you'll be okay. I got aimed again, so I'm at 11-15 right now, with a panda almost dead. Whatever. So, but you can see that it was a pretty bad choice for the human to actually really try to stand up to that. Yes, he got rid of the last of the huntresses, the last of the dryads, but, I don't think he knocked out any bears. And, he had to burn a TP, and he lost quite a lot of riflemen. So overall, not a good choice. Once you see bears, get away and make a bigger army. Because as soon as that tier 3 hits, big advantage for Night Elf, because suddenly, pow, you've got 3 tier 3 melee units that, weren't there before. It's just suddenly there. And that's really powerful. That's something people have to realize, is that it's not going to suddenly, you're not going to be able to win a fight very easily as soon as he gets tier 3 melee. It's like trying to face rifles against A-bombs without the high level MK. It's not going to work. So, you want to hit before they hit tier 3, and then you wait a while. Like, he was smart in creeping powerfully until he got a bit of a dream army, but then he waited too long to attack. Like, he should have went right as he got X critical level, be it level 3 in his Archmage, which you probably got and then went for. But, he could have gotten that a little bit quicker had he, brought his Naga away from one of the camps, or, just grabbed a couple smaller ones in quick succession and gotten that. But he could have gotten, a critical level and attacked way earlier, in my opinion. And that would have really just brought in this huge advantage. And if there's no bears, and if there's no bears, human will beat Night Elf, pretty much. Because if Night Elf goes for some kind of attack, as he was doing, he went for tier 3 with a dual lore trying to get up bears. He had 2 dryads, that's what he got out of his Age of the Lores. 2 dryads, big deal. That's nothing. Sure, you can get rid of your elementals, whatever, who cares? Water elementals are not the main of your army. Your army is all those rifles and casters, and if he doesn't have tier 3 melee, he's not going to be able to kill your rifles and casters with his 3 archers, 1 hunters, and 2 dryads. It's not going to cut it. Panda and DH or no Panda and DH, it won't work. So, late timing for the human. Lucky for the Night Elf that he didn't come in. That pretty much would have been a good game if the human had went and towered him. He would have won game 1 on no wood. But whatever. You can see the Night Elf with his Ghostly Wisp of GG. You can see that his opponent is now creeping an expansion spot. Usually people don't creep expansions that often unless they're ready to expand. Just because a lot of times they're out of the way, and they're just sometimes inconvenient, which kind of goes with the out of the way statement, but sometimes they're inconvenient. As you can see, the Night Elf crept this top one. He's probably thinking to expand as well. He's at 60-60 food. And yeah, he just put down a Moonwell, so he's probably going to be making some more bears, but he will look to expand, which is why he has that Wisp right next to that gold mine. So that when it's time for it, he can just click it, BT click, and that tree will go up. A minute later, stop building wisps. He'll start building wisps. Anyway, So the Night Elf player is pretty much assuming that Kara is going to be expanding, as he saw that whole thing with his Wisp. So he's going to be knocking out some tech, as he knows his opponent is going to be losing some wood. I can't say that this is the definitive reason or not, but it's always a nice bonus to think about, is that the guy's going to lose a lot of wood by trying to put up an expansion, right? So if you kill a tech building that costs something like 150 wood, that's even more wood down the drain for that guy. As you can see, he's starting to rebuild the Arcane Sanctum, and we switch back to Kara's view, and he's got plenty of wood, but the thing is, DD doesn't know that. So his heart was in the right place, I guess. Who knows? But it's always good to think that he's thinking ahead. Who knows? Maybe not the reason at all, but maybe the reason is just, I just want to fight. Let's see if I can come back at him, see if I can force a TP. Unfortunately, he doesn't. Says, okay, screw it, I'm just going to finish the tech building and go kill your expansion, which is what he did. That's probably the more real expectation of trying to force a TP and then going towards the expo. He instead realizes, well, I can't force a TP, so let's just force a TP at your expo and see what happens there. So, as you can see, he's going for that. Also realizing that just because of all that money that the human player just spent on that expansion, he's probably in pretty good shape to go after him and deal some damage. So as you can see, level 2 Imma, level 2 mana burn. Interesting little concept there with lots of AoE. But quickly has to eat the invulnerability potion as he's focused, etc. But you can see that bears are just such a strong unit in general. It's not like completely one-sided right now, but I mean, he's just starting to plow through those lines right now. Yeah, he's starting to lose all his units. Maybe the heroes will go down. Maybe maybe a hero or two will go down for the Night Elf player. But overall, the bears and the dryads are they're owning. So trying to save your hero is a good choice. Obviously, that's pretty obvious in general. Don't lose your hero. But he's doing what he can to get rid of Kara. Unfortunately, Kara eats that invulnerability potion and knocks out the DH. But whatever. It's time to kill a Naga, so go for it. And, like a noob, doesn't eat the potion. Down he goes. GG. Mario Sweet has fallen. Kara leaves the game after saying GG. Yes. Or after the Archmage dies. Either way. Panda levels up to 5, then says, Biatch. All your Archmage belong to us. Get slowed again. Come on. There you go. All your Archmage belong to us. Good game. Okay, so what that replay pretty much illustrates is Night Elf, on maps that are normally Merc maps aren't Merc maps anymore because you have to clear them out first. So you're going to pretty much have to rely on archers early on so that you don't get tower rushed, because if your opponent gets luck positions on you and you do a tech build, you're going to lose. If they have half a brain, they're going to see that you are teching, see that you don't have archers and the tower rush you, and you will lose because you do not have mercenaries. That was why Night Elf could get away with teching before, is because they could pull out mercs. And since they were teching, not putting a racks, they usually had the funds to support the mercs, where the humans usually didn't because they're fast building a lumber mill. Anyway, load up game 2, get that one to 1 minute as well, and I'll be going over that one in a bit. This one, there's no tavern at all, so there's no panda, no naga. We're going to see how that one changes, how that one's different. So it's loading for me currently. What else to think about other than tower rush is that instead of just tower rushing, tower them before they get bears, because once they get 2-3, 1 minute later bears are out, and it takes about a minute for guard towers to go up. So by the time your guard towers are up, they have bears, and guard towers don't really own bears very much. They deal pretty good damage, but bears have armor and rejuve and stuff, and you're probably not going to kill them. So you want to hit them pretty much in the transition between Tier 2 and Tier 3. This will be when you pick up your Naga. Once you've got Spellbreakers, maybe a Sork or two, some Priests, and a pretty competent Rifleman army, and maybe you've got your level 3 Archmage as well, that's when you want to hit, because that's when they're not going to have anything. Unless they do some kind of a hunt build on, a more Huntress-friendly map, i.e. not Nullwood, because of the poison. That's when you can hit, because they're going to have Dryads, which aren't real combat units, they're harassment units, and that's when they're just not going to have many units. That's what you want to do as human. As Night Elf, as I said, get the archers early for tech build, but switch to Huntresses a lot earlier if you can than what DD8 did, in my opinion, just because Defend owns archers so hard now. Spellbreakers owns archers, and rifles with priests are good against archers as well. Really, archers are good against tower rush, and then they're good sort of late game as damage units. But in between there, that's when Huntresses and Dryads rule the show. Dryads just as harassment units and Huntresses as actual combat units. As long as you can abolish the WEs, you'll probably be fine with Huntresses versus Rifles, because you have that DH in there owning everything, and the Panda owning everything and whatnot. In any event, we're going to watch Game 2 now. DD8 versus Caravaggio, Lost Temple. 1 minute mark, fog of war off. Anyone's point of view if you want, I don't care. Let's unpause in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, unpause. So you can see this is obviously not a tavern build from DD8 for pretty obvious reasons, I would assume. The reason being he's a total noob but doesn't know there's actually a hidden Beastmaster on this map. Yeah. So Karo's doing his base build, not wanting to get harassed by, a DH or a Warden for free. He wants to make him pay for it. Now, pretty much you could pretty much get away with not making a base build now in Warcraft because everyone just assumes human will make one. Now they'll probably still harass anyway, but they probably won't get inside your base anymore just because they'll figure he probably knows what he's doing. He's probably got a base build. If they have a really keen eye, they can see that maybe if there's not one, they may still go in. But in general, you could probably not make a base build and not get harassed so much. But I wouldn't probably risk it. But just a random observation. In any event, you can see that DD8 scouts to his side, sees that his opponent is not there, and is going to be expanding. Now, he's actually expanding to one of the more or less likely spots, and one of the sort of harder to get to spots by putting it at 3 o'clock. Now, there are two reasons for that. One of them, it's not as expected as your own natural, and two, it's a full map away from the human base. So if they want to go for it, they have to walk all the way across the map with those slow footmen and, slow watermentals and slow riflemen, and it'll take forever. In the meantime, you can go hit their base, and maybe you'll lose your tree, but they'll lose about 20 workers, to Huntresses. So, sounds like an advantage to the Night Elf for me. As you can see, using the Warden, doing as much damage as he can, or trying to anyway, and gets trapped by the creeps. How ghostly is he? Very, should be the answer. And so, he has a TP. Now, when it's something like going against a fast expansion, that's one of the times you actually TP a level 1 hero, because you want to do as much damage to his FE as possible. Because if you do not do as much damage to his fast expansion as possible, he's just going to walk over you, because you've got an expansion of your own. You want to, try to pull a bit of an advantage for you, because since he can fast build it, it'll probably be up before yours. So you want to do what you can to just make it work for you. As you can see, he's got 1 worker so far, but he really needs to knock out a lot more. He needs to knock out a lot more workers. In any event, you can see his Warden's running around, getting chased as he has no hit points. Now right here, the human player should put down a Sentry Ward at that choke down there, right about where the Warden is now. Just so that he can see if someone's coming in from that side, if there's some kind of dual harassment, anything like that. He wants to be able to, see what's going on. Also, one of the things that human players do now, I've seen this since probably the past month or two, is that they'll actually camp by their expo for a while until it's most of the way up, because otherwise it is possible to force a cancellation if you start focusing that building and whatnot. So, there's that. Now you can see the Night Elf player is doing is putting up the Tree of Life. He's going to uproot it and come after an expansion. And he's going to be massing hunts from 2 AOWs. Because if you can mass hunts and get an early advantage, you can do great things. As you can see, his opponent does not have a blacksmith or a lumber mill. And so, because of that, DD8 could just rule the guy with Huntresses. And this is argument against level 3 fast, he's going to get owned by hunts, just straight up. So, DD's kind of relying on having some early Huntress advantage, just owning the heck out of his opponent's footman. Maybe scoring a kill on the expansion, who knows. But as you can see, he's getting up the tower, the Arcane Tower, as fast as he kind of can, getting a lumber mill before a blacksmith, because he knows rifleman or no rifleman, they're roughly a match for Huntresses, and since he's dual rexing hunts and you're making 1 Rax rifles, he's in slightly better shape than you, because he's got 2 Raxes for it. And so you're probably going to lose if you try to front 1 Rax rifles against 2 Rax hunts. So instead, he's going to be going towers, because they fare a lot better than rifles do against Huntresses. So you can see he's running those wisps away, trying to harass the wisps. You can see he's gotten 1 so far, doing pretty well, just, getting some EXP, dealing some damage to his wood economy so that he can't tech as well. Though he's got plenty of wood right now, you never know. They may come into play later on. So, the wisp chase goes on for now, as DD8 tries to force his opponent away from his expansion. You see his Tree Life building some more wisps so that he has the wood income for when he needs it, pretty much once he gets tier 2 and needs to put in lures, is pretty much the time for that. He's just dealing as much damage as possible, trying to knock out the footman for some EXP. Kara's actually being very smart and pretty much just delaying that expansion. His is up right now, and he's not getting harassed also. His opponent, however, is not really harassing so much. Maybe he'll kill a footman, but big deal. He's not very close to leveling. And he's not getting his expansion right now. So, DD8 is finally putting up his expo. Belated, but at least going up. And as you can see, the footman got taken by the creeps. Sucks for him. But anyway, DD8 is just constantly trying to knock out the wood income, because that's all he can do right now. He knows hunts are more than a match for footies. He knows rifle aren't going to do anything, and he's really just trying to earn in some money from his expo, get in some towers at each of his bases, so that he can't be harassed, and then eventually mass the tier 2 army. By weakening DD8's wood income, he's making his tier 2 army come before his opponent's tier 2 army. As you can see, there's no tree of life yet for DD8. But, keep is about 1/3 done for Kara. So you can see Kara's tactics are working right now, because DD8 does not have tier 2, and finally has an expansion way after Kara does. You can see there's already been, 1,000 gold mined out of that expansion for Kara. I can't say the same for Diddy, so, there's an advantage for Kara right there. In any event, you can see Shadow Strike is just pretty much cool in knocking out footmen. He's trying to gain some EXP from that, trying to weaken his unit count so that he can... One, he can't creep as fast, which is always useful, because if he can't creep as fast, then he's not going to be getting his high-level hero as quickly. Overall, it's just a good idea. And also, since you get EXP for it, maybe you'll level up a little bit more quickly. So, overall, good thing for DD8 just to knock out footies, even though they're not a big factor in an actual battle. They're just useful, period. So, you can see Kara's just blocking off that expansion because he can't call militia, so he's doing as best he can to keep himself from being owned from little hunters harassments. You can see he's blocked off most of his workers with farms, blocking off his towers with farms, and building farms all across the maps building towers all across that expansion, so that there's no way for the Night Elf to knock it out for free. As you can see, Kara's also messing riflemen inside his base, because if they get jacked by hunts and surrounded, he has 200 gold down the drain, and that's not something you want to have happen when you're trying to win this economy war. So, DD8 is finally getting towards tier 2. As you can see, he's most of the way there. His opponent, of course, already is there, but does not have a mapkin yet. He's starting it now, but, a little late. In any event, you can see that their hero levels are pretty close to each other because of the footman kills, and, they've both crept expansion. As you can see now, it's a little bit more into DD8's favor, although it wasn't a second ago, just because of those footman kills. Now you can see he's switching up to archers, because eventually hunts get so numerous they're just in each other's way. That doesn't happen to riflemen, doesn't happen to archers so much, because they have so much range. They can just form this big semicircle of GG, and it works. So whatever. In any event, DD8 realizing that he's not going to be able to kill much of Kara's army unless Kara comes out, he's just going to kill some farms, lower his food a little bit, though he's at 52 to 60. You never know. He doesn't know that he's at there right there, that he's at there right now. So you never know. That could have kept him from getting a spellbreaker. Who knows? But it's take what you can, because it's still 80 gold and 20 wood, and now he no longer has a scout farm. You want to get rid of scout farms as soon as you can, to an extent. You don't want to send your first 2 footmen and your archmage and a water mantle after it, or your solo warden to try to knock out this farm by itself, because that's not going to happen very easily. You want to be moderate about it, but you want to get rid of it sooner rather than later, because otherwise it's going to be more and more and more free scouting. That's really not something you want your opponent to have throughout the entire game, since the farm is still working at peak capacity. Who doesn't like getting rid of your opponent's buildings? Last game he killed Marquette Sanctum. That was a good idea. He was trying to kill a single footman. That won't mean a whole lot in the grand scheme of things, but, kill what you can, because it's useful. So the same kind of thing, killing a farm, because, it's one of their food buildings. It's one of their most important buildings they can have. So, get rid of it. In any event, you can see, good item drops for Kara. They're both trying to creep, big spots that are somewhat safe, so that if they get jacked, they don't have to burn a TP, per se. Now, none of us have to worry about that so much, because hunters are quick, but you can still, store-bolt kill a hunt with rifles pretty easily. So there's always that risk, but in general, they're just creeping pretty big spots. Trying to give themselves some mobility and, options later on. As you can see, Kara's coming for this expansion right here, that he has the option of expanding here if he needs it. If he wants to have 3 gold mines versus 2. It's a pretty good advantage in general. As you can see, he's got this water metal sticking out over here at this Goblin Merchant, because that the way he knows if he's getting creep checked or not. As you can see, he's even got it selected. Now he's moving it back towards the army, but in general, I think it's a good idea to have it sitting out there in case of a creep check. I think he pulls it in just so that his opponent doesn't know if he's coming in there or not, or if he's there or not. Because some people don't even go all the way to the corner, they just creep the merchant and get away. But in any event, he's sending militia down, wanting to put up a 3rd expansion, or a 2nd expansion, a 3rd mining base, and just chilling out like that. So you can see the Warden goes in this, forgets the items because he's smart, but whatever. Just getting his TP back, getting the dual scrolls, health and protection, and this can you see a difference changing from the sort of mass archer up to Dryades to bears. This is a little more mass hunts to bears. Now the reason for that, I'm not exactly sure, but a lot of it I think is that hunts are great creeping units because they do a lot of damage and there's not always a lot of piercing units. Last time was a bit of an exception because I think every single creep camp has at least 1 piercing unit. Yeah, I think every single one of them does. But since, Warden can take those, and you can have a Huntress take a melee unit, usually in pretty good shape. And they do so much damage in general that they're just awesome creepers. So you can just see that because of the tier 3 advantage, he's just power leveling his Warden. I think that's a lot of the reason why he's going solo Warden. Warden's probably the best of the solo heroes. DH is not so much a solo hero in that all he can do is mana burn, and then he's just sort of, a tank, which is what bears are for anyway. Now, if the Warden is solo, FOK and Shadow Strike just own, and Vengeance owns, and really since there's no Beastmaster or Naga or Panda in this map, there's no really good second heroes for Night Elf. Like Priest of the Moon is pretty good, because Hunters and Archers get more damage, but she's frail, and that's really all she's good for, some increased damage on like Archers and Hunts, which are eventually going to get replaced by bears anyway, so who cares? In terms of the Keep of the Grove, you could dispel all of his spells, and what am I saying? Holy crap. You could dispel all of his spells, and Thorns isn't exactly a big deal. In terms of the DH, he's just so nukable. If you go DH Ward, one of them's going to die. Because, if they're not high level, they're both melee against, a Mountain King and Spellbreakers, you're going to get pretty much owned. So, you better watch out for that. And anyway, you can see the Archmage has his Tome of Retraining right here. So that he can switch up to Blizzard. Which is something that Insomnia does, and I think Kara picked it up from him. In my opinion. And it's just that, what am I saying? Holy crap. Okay, here we go. Is that, yes, I know Dryads are magic immune, but when you consider that Dryads own water elementals to the extent that they do, they just completely mutilate water elementals, it's probably a little bit better to have Blizzard, which at least deals damage, because Blizzard, the damage adds up against the bears pretty quickly, because they're not really moving anywhere. They're pretty much not going to start moving around trying to dodge it, because, your front line of Spellbreaker is going to be magic immune, or they're not going to get healed by Priest, so they'll be in pretty good shape versus Blizzard. Whereas the bears, Rejuve will probably get stolen or dispelled, and that also requires, a bear out of form, which is going to die even faster. As you can see, slow his ownage, kills a Dryad, or not a Dryad, a Huntress. He's probably going to bolt another one here, or just kill it, normally, whatever. Anyway, now you can see it's bear time. He rejuves all his bears and goes into it, just so that if they take some initial damage, that'll get taken away pretty quickly. As you can see, he's going right away with the Wand of the Wind, trying to knock out as many units as possible, so that he can try to do as much damage right now as he can. Because he knows he's probably not going to stand up to bears too easily right now, just because they're bears, and he's only got just a few knights. You can see he's got 2, or 3, I guess, I'm not sure, 2 or 3, anyway. But they're not going to be able to stand up to bears too long, but he's just going to, do as much damage with his AoE as he can. As you can see, he's got that Blizzard right now. And then realizing that the bears have finally broken through, he's going to back up. You can see that he's gotten rid of, all the archers, most of the huntresses, and, got a few bears. There's 5 left. I think there were about 7 before. So pretty good kills by Kara. You know, you see you got his Arc Mage to 4, his Mounting to 3, I believe that was just from that fight. You know, did some good damage, but you have to know that you're not gonna win the fight per se. You just want to do as much damage as possible. You know, before the numbers get too big, in a sense. Now, DD8's being smart in that he knows his opponent has an Expo, and as soon as you win a fight, always try to kill your opponent's expansion. Don't go for their main, try to pick a fight with their army, just go for their Expo, do as much damage to that as possible. Now he's trying to get away. Unfortunately, he sees he's got a horrible TP. He's going to TP out as fast as possible. Again, he's going to lose one Huntress right there. And actually gets a rifle for it, which is pretty interesting, but pretty good trade there, but whatever. It's more luck than anything. But yeah, so actually, oddly enough, it was a good fight for DD8 in that they both traded TPs and rifles cost more than hunts. Whatever. In any event, what DD8 was trying to do is just, you know, when you win a fight, go attack your opponent's Expo, because unless they tower it, like, with 4 guard towers, you can knock it out with bears or with rifles or whatever pretty easily, because, you know, they're not that powerful of units. You know, towers aren't super ownage, really. So, you know, you can always go after an expansion right after you win a fight. It's like an orc with, like, 6 fortified towers, you'll probably be fine. So anyway, Warden goes over to pick herself up some, TP, waiting for the income to come in. But eventually, we'll pick up the TP. Anytime now. Come on, you can do it. You can do it, come on, come on. Buy the TP, oh my gosh, you can do it. Come on, Warden, go! Okay, anyway, yeah, you can see he's got the TP. Or she, rather, or whatever. Anyway, now you can see that the human has introduced Griffins into his army. Now, Griffins are a good choice. One of the reasons being right now is that DD8 has not gone at all for Dryads. He went bears. Like straight bears. Now you can see he's researching Abolish. Funny thing is, he didn't even have Abolish yet. Like, Water Vessel would have been fine at the time, just because he didn't have Abolish Magic, he didn't go Dryads at all. However, that was just sort of a proactive measure by the human player, realizing that he's probably going to be facing Dryads. So let's get rid of that risk of giving free experience, especially against something like a Solo Warden, which will level up extremely quickly from all that. And just go right to Blizzard and just deal damage. But as you can see, he went Griffins because his opponent did not have Dryads at the time. He did not have any sort of anti-Griffin. You know, archers can't do a whole lot because they don't slow and they're not immune, so you can always Blizzard and clap them and kill them. So you can see this guy's doing whatever he can to try to get rid of this Griffin. The human player is trying to do what he can to save the Griffin by getting his army in there. Now the Night Elf player could Shadow Strike and FOK that guy again and probably kill it, but a Lucky Bolt saves it, luck her, etc. And that Griffin will not die. Too bad, so sad. Whatever. Anyway, human player regroups, and he's going to be pretty much setting up for a fight. He doesn't want his opponent to get vengeance, but too late. So, darn. In any event, we're going to have a battle, and we're going to see what they're trying to do here. So that Griffin's going to get owned pretty soon, I think. You can see the Roar goes off, extremely important, because Roar is huge. You can see how much plus damage it has on those. The Claw, plus 10 is big. Casting slow, frag grenades, owning, etc. Really, what they're trying to do now is just, you know, trying to win the fight. What DD8 is going for is just, you know, power with the bears, you know, knock through the knights because they do more damage than knights do. You know, use the Warden to FOK through everything. As you can see, it does do a lot of damage. You see that the knights are pretty much all falling due to FOK and bears and the Vengeance, the Dryads and whatnot. You can see they're getting pretty much owned. While the Warden is just leveling up, getting up to 7, as you can see. But, guess what? Bolt. Ha, noob. So she's getting pretty low on HP now. But he's going to risk it, and he's going to see how he's doing. Unfortunately, the MK gets the cooldown done, and Stormbolt. GG. TP, TP, TP. Aw, too bad. He Shadow Strikes the Mountain King, but it didn't die. Oh, and it leveled up, so it's not going to die. So, T_T for DD8. Trying to risk it too much. I'm going to laugh that MK eats it. 2 HP. Aw, lucker. Okay. As you can see, Shadow Strike does a lot of damage. The MK leveled up while he was Shadow Stricken. And still didn't lose his MK. Holy crap. Alright, it's still almost lost his MK. There you go. Yeah, I have that. Okay. Anyway, you can see DD8 after that, when he's trying to do that battle, expanded again. Because every time you initiate a fight, or you're about to fight or something like that, you always want to try to expand. As you can see, he's expanded to the bottom, and just expand it to the right-hand side. Always try to initiate an expansion every time you fight, because by the time the fight's over, your expansion will be up, and whether they kill it or not, it's probably not going to be as big of a deal, because you probably can't get them all. If you get like 7 of them, chances are at least a few of them will get up, but whatever.
I smell magic
in any event, what else is going on is Car's taking a quick second to regroup, just making sure he's healed up so he doesn't get blindsided by something. Some kind of flank of chimes, or I don't know, but just in case. And he's going to be making a move. So he's going to be coming after DD8's base, doing as much damage as he can.
Our gold mine has collapsed.
Just generally poning like crazy. As you can see, DD8's maynarding his wisps over. It's always a smart idea, instead of just rebuilding them, if you know you have enough wood, versus like, DD8 really doesn't have a lot extra, but, Kara does for sure. That's really kind of irrelevant, but if you know your Weddingham is going to be fine in general, go ahead and, take, instead of, taking the 5 that just went from your gold mine, putting them on wood, and building 5 more, and, losing a bunch of gold and getting a whole bunch of extra wood that you may not need. Instead, you could go for, what is it? Holy crap, sorry. I'm like mind blinking right now. Again, the traditional Phreak, losing train of thought ghostiness right there. You can instead go for, just rallying your wisps out and sending them over to a more important spot, into your expansion, and not spending the 300 gold and losing the 5 food and all that. So that's always something to do, instead of just spamming W 5 times or P 5 times or whatever. You can just always rally them off if your gold mine drains. So anyway, as you can see, Kare is attacking right after he won a major fight, i.e. killing the level 7 warden. And then comes after it again. Spellbreakers are good units in general, because they're the only meat shield that is immune to magic. Because, that's fair. But whatever. In any event, you can see Retho forged swords. It's like uber damage knights, trying to get them in line with bears in general. Because otherwise he's going to get, knocked off, because FOK does a lot of damage, either to knights or to rifles or whatever. And so trying to equalize that damage a little bit with Blizzard and Clap, that'll pretty much equalize the FOK advantage right there. Then equalizing the whole bears do a crapload of damage, you get upgrades to your knights, you've got an equal fight, which is pretty interesting. Because normally, humans not have a lot of anti-warden and a lot of anti-bear, just because they're just strong in general. And so, essentially, Kara's counter was equalizing that. He equalized the AoE advantage, he equalized the tier 3 melee damage, took Dryads pretty much out of the picture as they no longer abolish, and then adds this interesting super damage unit with the Griffins. And essentially what that does is it forces your opponent to get more archers and more dryads, which are in turn just owned by those mortars that he had originally. So let up third replay, get that to 1 minute, and we're going to look at this one again, or look at this one period, and see what's going on up in that biatch. So, yeah, I'm at 1 minute, Fog of War off, either player's point of view or Knob's point of view, don't care. And I'm going to say a little bit more about the last game, in that, there's not a lot of really good Night Elf second heroes, as you saw in the one I did earlier with the Archer Bear against Human. Though, I went Priest of the Moon because there's really no other, competent second Night Elf hero on a non-tavern map. So many of the non-tavern maps are going to be solo hero. Not just because of, incompetent second heroes, but also because of, just that new and improved EXP advantage. Since Night Elf will always get 2-3 against Human, having 30% extra on your Warden or DH is insane. That's a lot of EXP gained. That's instead of getting, let's say, 60 EXP from a rifle, it's like 78. I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but instead of being a footman and a half, it's 2 footmen, pretty much, in EXP. And that adds up pretty quickly. When you consider that, it takes 600 EXP to go from level 5 to level 6, adding another 18 per rifle, it's pretty good. You know, you will get that ultimate a little bit quicker, and that's why Solo Dreadlord's going to be a little bit powerful, a little more powerful if you can win some fights in there, and just kind of see how that turns out. In any event, we're going to unpause this game, and we're going to analyze a different approach now, and we're just going to see how this goes. So let's unpause in 3, 2, 1, unpause. Now, as what I said, now in relation to what I said in the first game, when I was talking about how Human really only has Rafflecaster and Night Elf has a lot of choices, this is going to be sort of choice number 3 from Night Elf. Now, we saw in the first game Night Elf went Mass Archers, then sort of waited till Bears. Last game, he went Mass Hunts, then went Bears, and sort of just kind of let the Hunts die out. And then, in this one, you're going to see something different. So, I mean, one of the interesting things about this matchup is there's just so many different tactics Night Elf can use. And that Human, you're always going to rely on them going Rafflecaster, because no other race has such a hard counter to Griffins with both Fairy Dragons and Dryads. They both just rip the crap out of Griffins. It's just pure and simple, it just does. You know, D-Hawks, those are owned by Dryads and Archers. You know, Mass Rifles, owned by Bears. You know, there's no, like, sort of different weird strats that Human can do against Night Elf. It's always a game of getting Riflecaster, then adapting it slightly into what your opponent has. For instance, you know, you always go footy to Riflecaster, and then when he saw his opponent getting Mass Archers, you know, he quickly got himself Defend, but then he went to Riflecaster again, you know, so there's no big change you're going to see from Human until something gets changed. Now, you saw last game was Riflecaster with Knights, because, you know, that's a fun... it's still Riflecaster or Heart, but, you know, now you've got Knights in there, which are pretty cool. So, you know, you're always going to see the same kind of stuff from Human with 1 or 2 unit variations. And that's what you're going to see. That's what's going to be in there. So that's always something to keep in mind in general. Now, one thing I really want you to see is DD8's creeping pattern, and really something to analyze about it. Creep the green camp until you get your unit count up. Then you creep this spot, which you're going to see, which you'll hope for Healing Wards with. Because Healing Wards are ponage. Healing Wards are GG. Also, the reason that he's creeping this one instead of that orange camp is because, now after he creeps this camp and the next camp, he'll get level 3. However, that orange camp just south of this one will purge away his summons and make his creeping suck. And so by creeping this one, which allows his Quillbeast to tank, he's able to keep his Beastmaster at some higher health, and in general just creep faster by creeping a bigger camp because it doesn't have Purge. That's always something to sort of think about and analyze. And that's one of the things to think about with creep patterns. If you're really trying to analyze a replay without an audio commentary, thinking about their decisions is you always want to think about something like Purge. And this is something that I feel sort of good about in actually realizing this, is that, you know, normally that little Purge camp right there would be, you know, next logical choice. You know, it's just a little bit bigger than the green camp, not as big as this one. You know, there's no inner fire and, you know, 5 units in it. But the reason is because of the Purge. And otherwise, you know, you're not going to have that Quillbeast taking. And so what he's pretty much doing is creeping enough until he can get his Huntresses out, and then creeping the next logical spot. So he gets himself one on the win. Pretty good item. It's probably better than getting a Mana Stone on the Beastmaster. But, you know, not as good as Healing Wards. But overall, a good, solid item. And now, he's not going to care so much about the Purge camps, because now he's got Huntresses, and Huntresses own Null Wardens. They just, like, it's just GG right there. So you're going to see he's going to have that Quillbeast in front, but he's going to wake them up with a Huntress, so that the units turn around and don't purge the Quillbeast. Now, if he was trying to wake them up with, like, an Archer, they just get raped, just because Archers do not have any hit points. So, you know, as you see, the thing still got purged away, but, you know, he's not taking with the Beastmaster anymore. He finally has melee units. You know, if he was trying to take that Null Overseer with some Archers, that would just be asked to get owned. You know, he already didn't have any hit points on his Beastmaster left, so, you know, why would you risk that any further? But no, you just use your Huntresses and you're fine. So that's always something to do. As for Kara, you can see he's got a creep pattern, which, has some pretty nice items. You can see he got himself, level 2 by creeping, a bunch of orange camps. And, you see they actually just went for that Ankh trying to get Healing Wards instead of actually creeping the entire camp, because with that small number of footmen, you really can't always creep that out. But you can see Kara's sort of creep strat. You can notice that it's slower than the Beastmasters. It gets him, you know, that same item, and it gets him level 3. Pretty interesting. You know, there's different approaches to creeping. And now, my personal favorite, or least favorite if you're playing human, Beastmaster Summon, the bear, because you cannot purge that away for the life of you. That thing is impossible to dispel with anything but Orc and Night Elf. Because priests, they dispel for 200. You know how much hit points the Spirit Bear has? I think it's 1600. This someone from a level 3 hero would take 5 priest dispels. Now look at what the human has right now. Let's see. He's just barely at tier 2. He doesn't even have an Arcane Sanctum yet. How are you going to dispel the Raging Bear right there? You're not. So what the Night Elf is doing is he gets that Ghostly Raging Bear, and he's going to come after his opponent. Use the Wand of the Wind to try to get a Heroes around. I would assume he should get that Archmage right now. He probably could easily. Newbie. He could have gotten that. I'll guarantee you. Bad choice. He could have gotten that. Newbie. However, he's got 2 Raging Bears now. You're gonna die. You see, he cycles up one of the heroes, gets around the Mountain King for a short time, but he's fighting next to a freaking guard tower. Why? You're just going to waste your Wand on the Wind, and ooh, yes, cycle on a Footman. Good choice. Yeah, he's doing pretty well because he has those that bear, but now that the militia are in here, he's going to lose his entire army. As you can see, he sort of is. Now, he did manage to knock out quite a few Footmen, but he lost a lot more Huntress. A lot more. So, noob. Level 3 Beastmaster versus, let's look how much EXP the Mountain gained. 190 EXP. That means actually 380 EXP worth of units was killed. Beastmaster didn't hardly gain anything. So, bad choice fighting next to a tower and using the Wand of the Wind poorly and not trapping the Archmage. All he really needed to do was just Wand of the Wind that Archmage, surround it with your Hunters and Bear. Maybe if you have to use a second charge, go for it. It doesn't really matter. But you're going to force the TP off on the Archmage and do good things. Instead, he decides to fight inside a base. Never a good choice. I don't believe he even scouted to see if he had a guard tower or not. I'm not sure, but I think so. And as you can see, he kind of paid for it in losing a whole crap load of units. So, never fight next to a guard tower. We're at 8 minutes and 2 seconds right now. 3, 8:04, 8:05. And, most of the way through Game 3. So, DD8 is restocking his army, trying to regroup after that horrible rout right there, and just trying to pull together a nice big army. You can see that Kara is getting Mercs. Mercs are fun. Mercs are good units. In that a Ogre Mauler tanks so much better than a Footman. I mean, he's got twice the HP, a little bit more armor, for twice the cost of twice the food. He's got twice the durability, but it's just so much cooler looking in general, just because it's a freaking Ogre Mauler. Those will scare the crap out of people pretty much. It's like, oh my god, it's a freaking level 5 creep. These guys are tough. Now he does get level 4 in the Beastmaster. That is pretty cool. However, he's still going to get owned. He wins the MK and then doesn't surround it. Good job. Tries to get out of the way, but now he's got just an MK, again, giving him trouble. As you see, Human Plague gets the item shop first, and is owning him because of it. So, good game there. And so he's just killing all the units off, kills another hunt, and yeah, the Night Flare is sort of holding his ground pretty well. He's knocking out rifles pretty quickly too, with, that bash and whatnot, but, because of the range nature of all those rifles and WEs, really Kara's doing better overall. Even if you trade a hunt for a rifle, eventually it'll just get to the point where you're just not gonna. Really, he's not even trading one rifle for one hunt. That was the thing, He's lost all the Huntresses, and the human player still has an army. Beastmaster takes that goes to TP thing, gets bolted barely in time, TP's out with like no HP, and just says, "Okay, screw it, you win." But you're gonna see about it right here. He's like, "Well, darn it, this guy has an army and I don't." How imbalanced. So, homeless DD8 leads the game, and you can just see how much Kara owned the guy. Really, DD8 lost because he was way too overzealous in fighting because he had that bear. And it is important to attack when you have critical levels, but when your opponent has that same level, and they have a second hero, not a good choice. What Nanoff could have done is simply just crept expansion, put that up, then go be careless, because he could have easily just done that, He could have even done an SM Reda spot that no one would have thought about, the natural to the left of the human's base. I mean, he wouldn't have checked that out in any time recent. I wouldn't have thought, Unless he's trying to creep that, which he may or may not try to do. I mean, it's close to the human base. After you creep it, you can go ahead and attack him. You may even get a level 4 out of it, which will give you that dire Quilbeast, which really owns. But whatever. Bad choices by DD8 in that game. Bad choice in game 2 by trying to shadows like the MK instead of TPing out as well. But, what can you do there as well? I believe this will be the end of this commentary. One thing to think about in a best of 3 is to realize what strat they did the first game. And really think about if they're going to adapt that or not. If it worked really well for them, they're probably going to do the same thing. And also sort of know the map choices they're going to be. Orcs will always pick Plunder, Night Elves will pick Twisted and Null, Humans will pick Lost Temple for sure. It's good to practice on maps like in ladder that you're not always good at because you're going to play them in a best of 3. So if you're Orc, play on Lost Temple because your human opponents will. Later, guys.